Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our ChatGPT Basics. My name is Luis Harking, and I'm one of the technical trainers here at Design Data. We're especially excited about this topic, as I'm sure you are as well, as we get to dive into some of the basics of ChatGPT and how you could use this tool to boost your productivity. So our learning goal for today's session is so that you and I can begin to use ChatGPT to boost your productivity. And so to accomplish this, what we'll do together is we're going to survey ChatGPT's history. What is it? What are some of the benefits that go along with it? Then we'll learn how to navigate the ChatGPT portal. And we'll discover some of the limitations. As powerful as this tool is, there are some limitations with tools like ChatGPT at this time. We'll then discover how you can begin to boost your productivity. We've got a couple of practical examples. You might need to fine-tune it for your particular work situation, but you'll get to see how you could use this. And then finally, we're excited to share about something that's really cool that's coming soon. So let's go ahead. If you're excited about it, go ahead and give me a party icon. We have a number of people here joining us from different states. You should see a reaction. Give me some party icons. If you're excited, I'm excited too. Great. We have a good group of people here. All right. Well, welcome everybody. All right. So what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is a large language model developed by OpenAI. Now, you might be curious, what is a large language model? Well, get this. According to ChatGPT itself, a large language model is an artificial intelligence system designed to generate human-like text or speech. Large language models can be trained on various types of text data, including books, articles, and websites, and they can be fine-tuned for specific tasks, such as language translation, text completion, question and answering, and more. There are numerous practical applications using this tool, including chatbots, which some of you have already shared previous during our word cloud, virtual assistants, and automated content generation. And in air quotes, it's so-called knowledge. In a nutshell, it's composed of an enormous amount of data pulled from all these different sources, like the internet, websites, articles, books, and so forth. But why might you want to use ChatGPT? Just by a show of hands, just if you don't mind raising your hand here, does anyone remember the Dewey Decimal System? Hopefully I'm not aging myself here. Does anybody remember the Dewey Decimal System? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people raise their hand. A couple people clapping their hands. Great. Yeah, so the Dewey Decimal System was a tool that you and I would use to I see a sad face here. The good old days, maybe. This was a wonderful tool at the time to help us to locate the specific book that we needed to from the library. Well, then something disrupted that whole process. We had search engines that came on the scene. Does anybody remember Ask Jeeves? Remember that search engine that came out? So that was one of the earlier search engines. And so Google then came on and they completely wiped out everybody else in terms of the search engine. It's a very powerful tool. And think of how much our life has benefited by this new evolution of how we're able to search for and look for information. You type in a search result into Google, you get a number of different results. Well, what if you had a tool that could distill all of those search results, but is able to put all that information in a human-like response to you? And this is an incredibly fast and concise response of all its information and knowledge that it has. Some other benefits, of course, this tool is available for you 24/7, just like tools like Google and other search engines. And it's going to be able to provide the support that you need at any hour of the day. It can be trained on any language, all contingent on the amount of available data that it has access to. So in addition to English, ChatGPT can use languages like Spanish, French, German, and so forth. It just all depends on the information that it's been trained on. And as we're going to learn momentarily, this tool can be used to boost your productivity. And we'll learn about this in just a moment. Now, GPT-2 was introduced in 2019. The version 3 was released in 2020. Then we later learned that it was just called simply ChatGPT. And this was released in November 2022. So it's actually been a number of months since the tool that we're using today has been out. Now, it is available for free today, but there are some limitations. So for example, depending on the usage of that day, of that hour, you could receive a prompt that there's a higher than normal demand for service. So you might receive a prompt like check back later. So this is a live demonstration. I hope we don't encounter that, but it is something that could take place if it's being overly used. There are also paid versions of this tool, which will help produce faster results for you and you are given priority access. So you're not going to encounter that prompt to check back later. So that's some of its history. What about the future? You know, I'm sure that there are a number of concerns of job changes. And although there are conversations of machine autonomy and so forth, what I've found so far is humans are still required to manage these tools. You and I are the creators and the editors of the information that ChatGPT and other tools like this produce. This is, at this point, this is an advanced tool to help you and I to achieve more. You could consider artificial intelligence being your co-pilot or your full-time assistant to help you to accomplish much more in less amount of time. You know, we're witnessing creativity unleashed as people can close the gap between vision and reality. And by leveraging this skill set, because this is a new skill set that all of us are learning here, you'll be able to maximize output and you'll be able to reach further than ever before. So we're definitely living in pretty exciting times. Now, as a disclaimer, design data, our partner vendors, and even Microsoft, we're all still wrapping our heads around AI. So while I will be introducing you to ChatGPT, this is an evolving story. And we look forward to continue to create content around AI as we learn more. But I need to tell you this before we begin. As confident as ChatGPT sounds in their responses, remember, it is not gospel. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to pull up ChatGPT. I'm excited to get to share this with you. So in terms of its portal, first you would want to go to chat.openai.com. That would be the website link. And if you don't already have an account, it'll give you an opportunity to sign up for free. Now, depending on your organization, you may or may not want to be using your work email account. So just something to keep in mind. Follow whatever your organization's policies are around this, or if you're not sure, ask one of your leaders about the preference on this. But just something to keep in mind. You could consider having a share the link. Sure, give me one moment here. There you go. You can consider creating a free account and so forth, but you do want to verify with your leadership on business use and so forth. But once you sign in, this is what the portal looks like. You'll see on the far left, these are all of my previous threads, conversation threads that I've created since I've been using this. And as I scroll down, I can see these three dots here. I can go ahead and click this. And if at any point I need to clear everything, all my previous conversations, I could simply click this button and terminate all those conversation threads. When I visit settings here, you could also clear all chats here as well. But what I wanted to focus your eyes on here, because you might have some privacy concerns. What's the information that's being put in here? When you visit data controls tab here, you could even turn off the chat history and the training. So you could see that what this tool by itself, by default, it saves new chats to your history and allows them to be used to improve ChatGPT. Unsaved chats will be deleted from your system within 30 days. Well, if I click on this learn more, and I'll go ahead and just share that link here with you in the chat, you can learn a little bit more about the data controls with this tool. So let me scroll down. This is probably the question many of us are asking. How does it use my personal data? So what ChatGPT authors are saying is we do not use data for selling our services, advertising, or building profiles of people. We use the data to make our models more helpful. ChatGPT, for instance, improves by further training on the conversations people have with it, unless you choose to disable training. So you can learn a little bit more about some of the FAQs with ChatGPT with that link that I provided in the chat. Something also to mention here, of course, you have the delete account option if you needed to, and you could enable two-factor authentication. But something else I wanted to mention here, you do not want to put in sensitive, confidential information into this tool. We don't want to be among those where something happened, there was a data breach with ChatGPT and some of that information is on there. So you do not want to be putting confidential, sensitive, corporate information inside of this tool. So just something else to keep in mind. Okay, now as we are inside of this website now, you can see that there's these 3 pillars here that we're looking at. Well, it gives you a starting point, it gives you some examples of how you can use this tool, like explain quantum computing, but using simple terms, or generating new ideas for a 10-year-old's birthday, and it'll produce a response for you. There are some interesting capabilities with this tool. As mentioned earlier, this does remember what users have said earlier in the conversation. So this is that human-like conversation that you could have with ChatGPT. So if you ask for 10 ideas for an upcoming birthday, for example, you could say, after it gives you the answer, I'd like to learn more about option 2. And ChatGPT knows exactly what you're talking about. So you can provide follow-up corrections if necessary on it. And while it's not perfect, ChatGPT is trained to decline inappropriate requests. So I did try to use this tool to create a phishing email for purposes when we were covering an email security training. And so get this, I was able to have it produce this response. I said, right as a Nigerian prince requesting a wire transfer. And it gave me an entire example that I could use for a phishing attempt. So it's not perfect, but it's able to reject a number of different requests in this tool if it deems it inappropriate. And the authors are going to be working towards continuing to refine it and so forth. It does have limitations. It may occasionally generate incorrect information. Keep in mind that this is a snapshot of history that ChatGPT has. Last time I looked, it was somewhere around September 2021. That's the snapshot of history that ChatGPT has at this time. So since that time, so much could have changed. And so the information or the responses that ChatGPT gives you could be out of date or completely inaccurate. And it may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content. You're seeing all these warning flags for a lot of these artificial intelligence tools, including Bard. I saw Bard was one of the examples in that word cloud. They are constantly putting in these signals here, like it may produce inaccurate information about people, places, or facts. So as I mentioned earlier, as confident as this tool sounds, you do not want to treat it like gospel. You could think of it like Wikipedia to help and generate new ideas and so forth, but you still want to do some additional research. Okay, so let me go ahead and let's begin using ChatGPT here. You can see my mouse cursor here is in this text box. And let's just begin with a lighthearted example of this. So tell me a joke about why the chicken crossed the road. And get this, you can add all different kinds of ingredients to the prompts that you give it, but using poetic form. Let's see how creative ChatGPT can be. So once you hit on enter, the tool is going to be thinking. In some cases, it'll be lightning fast. In other cases, it may take a moment for it to think about it. And I tell you what, every single time I've tested this or I've used that exact same phrase, ChatGPT gives me a completely different response. So what you're seeing right now, I've never seen this one, even though I've practiced today's session with some prepared prompts and so forth. This is a completely different joke, and it's using poetic form to do so. So it's pretty neat what ChatGPT can do for this. You'll see once this gets generated here, a new conversation thread is going to open up, and that's going to be the title that it gives. I could rename this if I needed to, or if I wanted to delete that conversation, I certainly could do so. And now it's gone. And now we're back from scratch. Okay, so now you just saw how this works. Well, let's go ahead and see how we can use this tool to boost our productivity. And something that's important here, and something I want you to take away with, is that it's vital to learn how to ask the same question in a variety of ways. So if you don't like the response that ChatGPT gives you, chances are you might need to ask it in a different way. So it's going to challenge us in this way, but we'll see. Like the more that we can learn this skill set, the better responses and the better use we're going to have with ChatGPT and other tools like it. So for example, list top books I should read this year. Now it's pretty neat. ChatGPT is able to quickly pull up this response here, but ChatGPT doesn't know exactly what I'm looking for. So it's only going to showcase what it thinks might be best. But something that might be better in terms of like a question or a statement and so forth is list the top 5 books as I transition to a full-time, let's say, public speaker. This is going to tell ChatGPT to give me a more precise answer. So you'll notice that some of these titles are all public speaking focused as opposed to the random books that we saw earlier. Now, in terms of recalling the information is, let's say, I'd like to learn more about option 2. So notice that I didn't even give the full title of that book, but ChatGPT knows exactly what I'm talking about. Jessica, that's a good question. It might be able to do so. If you have an ISBN number that you have it as an example, I can certainly push it in here to see what it gives me. So you could use ChatGPT to conduct research, such as locating books and so forth, or maybe the top articles and so forth. You could use this tool also if you're curious about different ideas to compose a blog post. So let's see if we do something like this. Write a blog post on the top cybersecurity tips for a secure home network. And then here's an ingredient I'm going to add using simple terms. And then let's see what ChatGPT gives us. All right, so it is giving us a lot of information here. So, but we can see some of the statements: change default credentials, keep your software up to date, use strong passwords, and so forth. And by the way, if you've joined our Secure Home Network, this is pretty consistent with the suggestions that we provide during our training. But this is pretty text heavy, right? Well, what if I want to tell it, well, let's make this more concise. ChatGPT is going to pull that same information together, and it's going to tighten up its language. So instead of it being so text heavy, notice how that simple 2-word statement is able to clean up the text a little bit better for me. Now, get this. Let's say not only do I want this to be part of a blog post, but I want to write it for Twitter using multiple threads. So we're going to give ChatGPT a moment here for it to generate its response. Clinton, thanks so much for answering that question for Jessica. Doesn't look like ChatGPT is able to pull ISBN numbers yet. All right, so we're just giving ChatGPT here a moment for it to pull this response together. And if at any time while this is just generating, if I needed to stop it, let's say I don't like the response that it's giving, I could always click on this stop generating, and it's going to completely kill the response here. Now you can see that it has thread 1 out of 8, so it's something that I could anticipate having. And this is something where, notice how it even has hashtags in there as well. Now, when I was demoing this exact same example, the previous option gave me icons to go with it. So it's always going to be slightly different. Now, the question here that Sid had about, well, is there any way that I could verify it? Please include reference links in the response. So let's give ChatGPT a moment here. And so in preparing for this, as I mentioned earlier, ChatGPT is nearly always giving me a completely different response. So today we're seeing that ChatGPT is saying you can find more information by visiting these specific links. In other examples, it would include links for that specific thread. So like whenever it would do, let's say number 8, it would include a reference link with it. But here's the very interesting thing, Sid, and for anyone else who's curious about this question, these links do not always work. So I'll even see where it'll say like youtube.com / random string of letters and numbers, or the website name, random string of letters and numbers. When I click on those links, it's a dead link. And so either two things that I can think of. One, it was a real link sometime earlier than September 2021, but then the website creator deleted that link. Or two, ChatGPT is giving me inaccurate information. And so this is where you can think of ChatGPT and tools like it as a great starting point. Think of it like a Wikipedia, where it might give you some ideas on a topic, but you're going to want to go back and do some additional research. So fortunately, it did give me some organizations so I can learn a little bit more about the topic to do some additional research. And so that's how I would treat it. Treat it a little bit like a Wikipedia. All right, so another, Clinton, thanks again for dropping that same comment. Yep, very useful if you know nothing about a subject, but less useful if you have that experience in that field. Trust but verify. Exactly right. You want to trust but verify. All right, so the next The next way that you could use this to boost your productivity is that you could use this to create templates. So let's say if we were to do this, write a sold as is legal document for a speaker system. Let's say you're going to sell a speaker system. So this just gives you an example to use, but do keep in mind, anytime there's a legal component to it, you're going to want to have this vetted by a legal professional. But this gives you a starting point of what this could look like. Some other ideas on creating a template, though, or some sort of a starting point. You could use this to write a cover letter for a particular position. You could use this to give you ideas on a resume. You could use this for ideas on creating a lease agreement and so forth. And you'll even see here towards the very bottom, this document is provided for informational purposes and does not constitute legal advice. If you have specific legal concerns, you want to consult with a qualified attorney. So just something to keep in mind. Again, it gives you some ideas, some starting points and so forth, but you still want to do your due diligence. All right, so another way that you can use ChatGPT here is that you could treat it almost like you're collaborating with a partner. Michelle, it's a good question. Let me scroll up here. So when I look at the response on the very far top right of that response thread, this is the copy clipboard. And so I could copy this and then I can paste it into like a Word document, for example. And while we're here, this is also a place where you can approve of the response or you can reject it like it's not good. All right, so for collaborating as though with ChatGPT as a partner, again, I'm going to use a lighthearted example, but just to illustrate how interesting this is that you could do this with artificial intelligence. So act as a Californian surfer guiding a first-time visitor to Washington, D.C. What are 3 sites I need to visit? So you could treat AI to act as someone else, act like another professional, and you could bounce ideas back and forth with it. So get this. Hey, dude, so stoked to help you out with your trip to Washington, D.C. It's a far cry from the gnarly waves we're used to, but it's an epic spot for history and culture. Here are 3 must-visit sites that will blow your mind. National Mall, dude, this is the White House. Now, dude, of course, you're seeing just so much. Have a blast, bro. Enjoy your trip to the land of history and politics. Cowabunga is even in here. So it's such a really fun and interesting way of how you could use ChatGPT. Now, I need your help for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll here. And so we're going to create an interesting, I haven't done this before, so I don't know what ChatGPT is going to say, but we're going to have it act as or write in the voice of some unique characters. And then we have a particular scenario that we're going to put together. So you should see a prompt on your screen. Go ahead and fill this out. I'll give you about a minute to fill this out, and we'll see what happens. Let's see who's the most popular voice, what we want it to do, what location, and what audience that we want it to speak to. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more seconds here. I'm curious what ChatGPT is going to respond. Yeah, the cowabunga is it's pretty neat. All right, so I think we have a good number of responses here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to share the results with you. All right, so it looks like Dr. Seuss is the clear winner. So let's go ahead and let's put this together, right? In the voice of Dr. Seuss. Okay, number 2, and we want to develop an employee engagement plan for Washington, D.C. And who won this one? Washington, D.C. families. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so you can see my screen. All right. So is anyone excited to see what this is going to say? Any party icons? What do you think? Dr. Seuss is going to be our subject matter expert of developing an employee engagement plan for Washington, D.C. families. This makes no sense, but let's have some fun. Let's see what ChatGPT is going to put together. Oh, the places we'll go in Washington, D.C., where families come together, happy as can be. To engage our employees, we'll have a plan. With Dr. Seuss's inspiration, we'll make it grand. Here we go. Step 1, step 2, all the way through step 8. Oh, the places we'll go, together we'll soar. In Washington, D.C., let's engage and explore with laughter, joy, and a sense of fun. We'll build a workforce second to none. Pretty neat that you can do this with ChatGPT. Now, again, that's a lighthearted example, but what if you use this for writing in the voice of an expert marketing strategist, writing in the voice of a notable business leader, write in the voice of a career coach, executive coach, a friend. I've even seen it used as though you're talking to Socrates. So it's really interesting how you can use ChatGPT to generate some ideas, collaborate with it, and so forth. But again, I know I sound like a broken record here. As confident as ChatGPT sounds in its response does not mean it's 100% accurate. It's a great starting point to generate and inspire ideas. You might also consider using this to create an email reminder to a client to pay an invoice and to use a professional but friendly tone. Or what are some good trending topics on this subject? And so you can learn a little bit more about that subject and treat it like a Wikipedia just to give you a starting point. Now, we are particularly excited about this. We're particularly excited about this, about what's coming soon. Okay, so we've been talking about the future, and I want to showcase this video to you. You may have seen this, but this is really exciting news that is coming very, very soon. So this is going to be a video clip coming from the CEO and the other leaders at Microsoft. So stay tuned to see what's coming soon here.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us. We are here today to talk about something that's very fundamental to the human experience, the way we work.
Introducing Microsoft 365 Copilot, your Copilot for work. Copilot combines the power of large language models with your data in the Microsoft Graph and the Microsoft 365 apps to turn your words into the most powerful productivity tool on the planet. Copilot is integrated into Microsoft 365 in 2 ways. First, it works alongside you, embedded in the apps millions of people use every day: Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. Second, we're introducing an entirely new experience, Business Chat, that works across all of your data and apps, your documents, emails, calendar, chats, meetings, and contacts, to do things that you've never been able to do before. And Copilot is built on Microsoft's comprehensive approach to security, compliance, privacy, and responsible AI, so you know it's enterprise ready. Using just your own words, you can put Copilot to work, gathering information in real time from across your data and apps to unleash creativity, unlock productivity, and up-level skills. Now you can be more creative in Word, more analytical in Excel, more expressive in PowerPoint, and more productive in Outlook, and even more collaborative in Teams.
You ask Copilot to visualize what contributed to the decline in sales growth this period. Copilot adds a little color to make the problem jump off the page. Now, you want to dig deeper and ask a follow-up question. Copilot not only answers your question, it creates a simple model of the scenario. And it even asks you if you want to learn more about what it did with a step-by-step breakdown. Finally, you can ask it to create a graph of your projected model. Copilot turned a sea of data into clear insights and actions. Let me show you how Copilot can help you tackle your email. We all struggle with the pull of the inbox. Sometimes it keeps us from focusing on our most important work. But at the same time, you do have important emails to respond to. Copilot separates the signal from the noise and gives you hours of time back. Copilot can help you triage your inbox, highlighting the most important emails to prioritize. And Copilot also helps you on the go in Outlook Mobile. It can summarize long email threads. You can draft a reply using data from an Excel file, and Copilot will generate a reply for you. You can edit it. You can make it more concise. You can even change the writing style or add more context. Now, all that's left to do is review the proposed response and hit send. Copilot is a productivity game changer.
Let me take a moment to explain what you just saw. To build Copilot, we didn't just connect ChatGPT to Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365 Copilot is powered by what we call the Copilot system, a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine. It harnesses the power of 3 foundational technologies: the Microsoft 365 apps, that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more; the Microsoft Graph, that's all your content and context, your emails, files, meetings, chats, and calendar; and a large language model, or LLM, a creative engine capable of parsing and producing human-readable text, all accessible through natural language. It starts with a prompt from you in an app. Copilot pre-processes the prompt through an approach called grounding. Put simply, grounding improves the quality of the prompt, so you get answers that are relevant and actionable. One of the most important parts of grounding is making a call to the Microsoft Graph to retrieve your business content and context. Copilot combines this user data from the graph with other inputs to improve the prompt. It then sends that modified prompt to the LLM. You may be familiar with what an LLM can do based on your experience with ChatGPT or Bing Chat. Copilot takes the response from the LLM and post-processes it. This post-processing includes additional grounding calls to the graph, responsible AI checks, security, compliance, and privacy reviews, and command generation. Finally, Copilot sends a response to the user and commands back to the apps. Copilot iteratively processes and orchestrates these sophisticated services to produce a result that feels like magic.
It looks like you have a dentist appointment that conflicts with your weekly business review. What if you could do both? With Copilot, you can follow a meeting and catch up to see what you missed, even if you can't attend. You'll get a notification in Teams when the recap is ready. And you can see the content that was shared, detailed notes, and any action items. You see there was some discussion about your customer. You can ask Copilot specific questions to get more context, and it provides a detailed response. You can ask questions like why a certain decision was made, or what other options were considered. And it provides citations with a snapshot of the transcript. It's a huge time saver. So that was pretty cool, but the real magic of Copilot happens during a live meeting. Here, you're in a meeting with your team. You can ask Copilot to summarize what's happened so far. You can see who said what points were made. Copilot is really capturing the spirit of the discussion. And as the meeting progresses, you can check on where people stand. You can even ask Copilot what questions are unresolved. You may not have heard of Loop. Loop is a multiplayer collaboration canvas with Copilot as an AI peer to your team, along with everyone else. Let's try it out. Here, the team is collaborating in real time on product offers and pricing, adding notes and action items to keep everyone on track and up to date. You can ask Copilot to pull data from Excel on the top selling products by category, and within seconds, it's processing the information. Another member of your team jumps in and adds a column. And anyone can prompt Copilot to build on each other's ideas. Everything is captured in prompt history.
And we not only built grounding into the system, we also built verification into the experience. We added citations and introduced forms of friction to encourage back and forth collaboration, and included feedback mechanisms so people could let us know when we get it wrong. Our goal is to give people agency. To help people get started, Copilot suggests good prompts. If you don't like what it does, there's the try again button. You always have the option to use, adjust, discard, or undo. You saw that in the demos today.
We're deeply committed to listening, learning, and adapting with speed to help create a brighter future of work for everyone with AI. Thank you.
Pretty exciting to see what is coming soon. We are waiting and eager to learn when Microsoft releases this. This is something that even Microsoft staff are very tight-lipped on. So this is something that they are just saying it's coming soon. So that could mean a lot. But Microsoft is working to bring this incredible product into the scene so that you and I could really boost our productivity and maximize our output. Now, we are at Design Data, we are investing in resources to continue to learn these AI tools. Even Microsoft and our other vendors, we don't have all of the answers yet, but we continue to learn how we can best present this information to you so that you can best leverage it for you and for your organization, so that you can, again, boost your productivity and continue to create that bright future. And so this is something, as we are coming to a close here, seeing how we can develop the skill set that we need so that we can leverage artificial intelligence to maximize input. This is a new tool that we get to use as part of our everyday work, but something that's incredibly important. You've heard me say this spread throughout our time together. You want to audit the results to ensure accuracy and reliability. Some of these tools may produce inaccurate information. So it is still important that you and I are researching and verifying the claims that tools like ChatGPT provide. The skill sets that we want to learn is seeing how we can rephrase or how we can refine the questions or the statements or the prompts. Depending on the quality of our questions, prompts or statements is going to give us that same level of quality in its response. So it's just something to keep in mind. And finally, as we continue to learn this tool, just continue to practice with it. Do keep in mind, you don't want to be submitting sensitive, confidential information and so forth into this tool. But this is something, again, you could learn to practice with for all different kinds of other ways that you could use this tool, like that collaborative feature that I showed you, or conducting research, creating templates, composing a blog post, and so forth. These are great starting points that you can use for whatever your next work task is. Remember, you are the creator and the editor of everything that you're doing as you're working in here, and AI is the one that's helping you to complete the task. But thank you so much for joining us in our ChatGPT Basics from Design Data. Have a great rest of your day.